when we go through stressful events, we tend to react differently. So there are others who develop chronic anxiety, they start experiencing insomnia, or start even having panic attacks. On the other hand, there are those people who start isolating themselves, they dissociate, they start becoming emotionally numb, or they become emotionally numb, and even others fall into depression. And when we start experiencing this, or when we see these signs, then we are able to understand that our nervous system has dysregulated. So what is a nervous system? A nervous system is our communication system. This is a communication pathway, if I can put it like that, that God made us with. And it consists of the central nervous system, which now processes information, and also, yeah, it processes information and it directs responses. On the other hand, we have also the peripheral nervous system, which connects the central nervous system, which is the brain and the spinal cord, to other parts of the body. So this is like the muscles, the organs, And then now we have the autonomic nervous system, and this is what we are going to be concentrating today. So this is the one that controls involuntary functions. So like your heartbeat, it is very involuntary. You don't wake up in the morning and then now you just alert your heart to like beat. We don't do that. And also breathing, and also even digestion. For example, when you sit down to have your meal, you don't start maybe talking to your stomach to be like, open up, now it's time to eat. No, it's something that is very, very involuntary. Now, in this autonomic nervous system, it is divided into two. And this is where now I want us to get in deeper so that we are able to understand more of the mental health aspect. So it is divided into the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. Let me repeat that again. The sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, the sympathetic nervous system, it is an alarm that God made us with. So for its function, it is the body's fight and flight. So fight, this is where you are ready to confront something. Fight is when you're ready to confront something. Then flight is when now you're ready to escape. Let me give an example. If you see a lion here, you can decide now maybe you want to maybe also start attacking the lion. I don't know if you have the strength. Or you can decide to run. At that particular moment, you don't really think much about it. All of a sudden, your muscles are already tense. You are ready to run. Your heart has already started like beating so fast, So that is the function of the sympathetic nervous system. So it is a go mode. Like I said, it prepares your body for danger. On the other hand, the parasympathetic nervous system, it is the rest and the digest. This is where that your heart is in a normal rate. You're able to digest very well. Because whenever you're in go mode or whenever you're in a sympathetic nervous system, you can even have digestive issues. Either you're not able to, your stomach is not able to digest food, you just have some digestive issues. But on this other, the parasympathetic, it's the peace mode, where everything is going on well. Like I said, your heart is beating normal, you're able to breathe normal, you're not breathing as fast. Like it is a space where now you're out of danger, like peace, there is peace. So those are the two parts or the two divisions of the autonomic nervous system. So now when something, and the sympathetic nervous system, like I said earlier, it's like an alarm. So let's look like a smoke detector. When you have a smoke detector at home, the only time that the alarm is supposed to sound, it's when there's this huge fire that is in the house. That's when the alarm is supposed to sound. However, when you try to light like a matchbox or something, the alarm doesn't sound. Why? Because the fire that is there at the moment, it is not like the fire is not, which word would I use? It's you're not in danger really, like you're not in danger, like things are not really going to burn because that fire is like small. But when it's this huge, then the smoke detector is going to alert everybody that there's fire, that something is going on. Now, what happens is the way we were made that in one way or another, when we go through stress, when we undergo through stress, we need to come back to a place of rest. So when the sympathetic system is alerted, by the end of the day, we really need to come back to a place of peace, or a place, yes, to a place of peace. But many of us don't do that. So what happens when we go through a stressful event? The alarm is on to alert us that something has happened. But when we are not able to regulate ourselves, then it doesn't matter. Remember, I'm using the smoke detector example as a metaphor. So it doesn't matter whether there's a huge fire, that means whether the threat is present or whether the threat is not present. Now, like I said, lighting of a matchbox, then you'll continuously, the alarm is going to be on. And now when that happens, we say that the person is in a hyper arousal state. And that's why and those are the kind of the examples that I have given earlier. So you maybe start having panic attacks. You are now always on high alert. You are having heightened emotions, so you snap a lot, you have an anger bursts, all that kinds of things. So continuously you're in go mode. There's hypervigilance. You start over functioning, like you're always on the go all the time. So that means your alarm is still on, and that means when you undergo any kind of stress event, you are not able to come back to a place of rest. So the way you're functioning like in a house that the alarm is always on, like you're continuously functioning as if the threat is present even when the threat is not present. So for example, if you experienced childhood trauma in one way or another, and you are not able to heal from it, so you continuously, even as an adult, you're continuously acting out as if the trauma or the event is present even when the event is not present. Now, on the other hand, when you are at a space whereby the parasympathetic nervous system is like overly dominant, like I said, you are supposed to come from, always go through a high and then come back to a low. That's how God made us. He gave that as a protective measure. You go through a high, you come down to a place of peace. You go through a stress, you come back to a peaceful mode. But sometimes the peaceful mode can also be in overdrive. So when the sympathetic nervous system has overly dominated, that means whatever stress that you have undergone through, now the body or your nervous system feels like it is not able to handle, like it's so overwhelming that it's not able to handle. So what happens? It goes trying to protect you, to try to conserve energy. And that's why now you find someone has started isolating themselves or dissociating themselves, or now they are sleeping either too much, or they are falling into like depression, or they're not able to be alert for a very long time, because now the body, each and everything that is happening in the body, it is really now trying to conserve energy. Or you find them now, they are already disconnected with their emotions. Now they start becoming very emotionally numb, so that is another state. So if you now find yourself where the sympathetic nervous system has dominated, that's when now you're always in go mode. You're always scanning, you're always alert. Everything for you is like you need to be ready. It's like every time you're waiting for you to fight or even to escape. On the other hand, when the parasympathetic, it's a time to rest and digest, a time to restore and to restart. So now when it overly dominates, now remember, these two are not supposed to overly dominate. You're supposed to go to a high and then you come back to a low. That's how we were made. So you see a lion, you run, and then you come to a place place of rest, where the lion is no longer there, and then now your body now starts functioning normally. But now you can be stuck into both, where now you're continuously seeing the lion is after you. Maybe that event, like I said earlier, that like you're continuously living like that event is present. You're continuously living like the abuse is present. You're continuously living like the war is present, or you're continuously living like right now with the states of the country and with the state of the nations as where we are at, even our nation right now with the floods and everything. This can really be a traumatic event that can really shake us. Let me give an example. I remember when we were having riots, the Maandamano, and it really shook so many people that up to date, there are people, for them, sound and sight, it's no longer the same. So I remember that this time that I was going to work and I was seated next to a person. And you see these, I don't know, I think motorbikes, I don't know, the way they are usually very loud. They have a name, but I have kind of forgotten the name, but they are very loud. And then it passed us and we were just like in kind of traffic. And this person was ready, or she had already stood up and ready to run, you know, after now those events. And those are some of the, so her nervous system had already associated, it's already on go mode since of the events that are happening. So for her, going to town or being in a place that it is in the public, it has already, like I said, it is a communication system. It has already picked that whenever we do this, whenever we hear this, we are able to learn. So she, in one or another, she's continuously living like the experience is happening. So she hasn't been able to regulate herself to be able to be in a state that they can be able to cope, right? So now that is like continuously being in a hyperarousal state. Now, when you are in a hypoarousal state is when now the parasympathetic system has overly dominated. Like I said, the numbness, the dissociation, or even you can fall into depression. Now, let me explain to you that these are the things that we are supposed to learn, but in one way or another, we were not able to learn. So majority of us undergo through stress, then we are not able to come back from a place of peace. We keep on being stuck to a place of rest. Now, this is something that God made us to be able to do, and we can also see it through animals. Animals do it all the time. Let me give an example that when you see a dog and it's in danger and you run after the dog, when the dog is settled, or even what does it do? It shakes itself, like it shakes its body. So that shaking its body, it's it going back, it's it communicating that we are no longer at threat, we can now rest, we can now be at peace, right? So it has come, it is undergoing stress, so it is coming from a place of rest. The shaking, the discharge of it, it is reducing the adrenaline that it is going to be using, and it signals it like right now we are no longer in danger. And each and every one of us, we ought to be able to shake like the animals shake. But now majority of us don't know how to shake. And that is something that we really, really need to be able to learn. We need to be able to teach our nervous system to be able to regulate. Now, apart from the hyperarousal and the hyperarousal state, we have this state that is called the window of tolerance. And this is what we need to be able to widen more and more. So the window of tolerance, it is a state whereby whether in presence of stress or not, we are able to be, whether in presence of stress, we are able to be at a state that we are able to cope. So even if I go through under stress, for example, it is work overload, and now I don't have anger bursts or mood swings, I'm able to cope. I'm able to go through the stress in itself. So the more we are going to be able to stretch out our window of tolerance, the more we are going to be able to enlarge our window of tolerance, then the better it is going to be for us, because it is at that particular moment that we can go through a high and then we come back to a low. So the question I would like to ask you today, are you able, or have you learned to be able to shake? Have you learned to be able to discharge? That you can go through a stress and then you come back to a place of peace? Or we are continuously getting stuck into the hyperarousal or the hypoarousal state. Now you need to be able to understand this is not just science. This is Genesis 1. This is how God created us. And healing for us is going to start when we come into terms, or when we start cooperating with our nervous system and not fighting it. Because majority of us tend to want to fight it more than cooperate with it, to be able to understand what it really is communicating and to be able to regulate ourselves so that we can return to a place that we are able to cope. So it is going to be very important for us to teach ourselves how to shake. And for us to learn how to shake, then the most important thing, or one of the most important things that we will need to know and understand, is how to regulate. And this is a topic that we are going to be discussing next time. I think after this video is the one I'm going to shoot, or I'm going to upload, and then we are going to learn how to regulate. Remember, we learned about the hand model of the brain to be able to understand our brain, because the more we are going to learn about our brain, then the more we are going to understand how we are going to function, or how we function, or how healthy we can be so that we'll be able to function the way we were made to function. Because some of us are fighting the originality of how we were made to function. But it's not coming, some of us, it's because of lack of knowledge, but we will need to really go back into understanding these things. So if you're in a hypoarousal state, or if you're in a hyperarousal state, join me and we are going to be discussing then how best can we be able to come out of these states. And just to make you also understand, or to put a disclaimer, all my teachings are not therapy. They are not like therapy sessions. So there are times that we will need in our personal journey to be able to see professionals who are going to help us with the journey. This is just for education purposes, so that you are able to see, you are able to understand, you are able to learn, and also we are able to see how also mental health and faith is not really far from science or psychology. It's something that we are supposed to bring in together. We are supposed to bridge in together, of course, faith being the foundation, or Christ being the foundation, so that in one way or another we are going to be able to live healthy, right? And be able to live healthy. So thank you all for listening, and hope that we are also going to join in the next time, so that we're able to understand if you have picked you are in either of the state, then how can we be able to enlarge our window of tolerance? And it will going to start by learning how to shake. And thank you all for listening.